we were all at an impasse. Today's video is totally out of my league because it's not the kind of thing I would like to talk about. I'm African, but I'm not even living in Africa right now, and even if I were living there, I mean, this looks like such a very controversial topic. It looks like I've been seeing a lot of prophecies online, and that people say prophetic word, and unfortunately we live in an era where people suspect prophet just because of the bad eggs amongst this cycle. So it's not even something that I want to associate with at all. But the truth is that when God gives you a message, when he gives you an assignment, you can crap out on him. You just have to deliver the message, and that's why I'm here today. So here is the revelation. I suddenly saw a huge ballroom. Now, inside the ballroom, there were different people, a lot of people represented by different nations in the world. So in that room, there were Americans, there were Chinese, there were Russians, there were people from Congo, there were Zambians, there were Nigerians, people represented from various nations, various countries, and various continents. Now, it looked like there was a contest going on in that revelation, and the contest was a very simple one. It was a match, like when soldiers are marching on a field. Now, to win the contest, all you had to do was not just to march very fast, but you had to march with strength and agility. You didn't have to show any weakness. But for some reasons, in that revelation, the Western world, people will normally look up to as world power. Think America, think China, think Russia. They were very, very weak in that revelation. But Africa did not know this. We were strong, but because of the psyche, because of our mindset, because of the way we view these countries, we were already intimidated and felt that we couldn't win in that match. So what happens is this: we could go fast, we could match with agility, which was all that was required to win that contest. Then the moment we start doing that, suddenly Americans would just wake up to the realization like, Africa is about to win this thing. Then they come to the scene, then they start marching fast. But guess what? They were not marching fast because they had the ability to, but it was just like through sheer force, sheer willpower. It wasn't something that came naturally to them. But Africans did not know because they had been paralyzed and intimidated in their mind that these people are better than them anyway. So the moment we start marching, the African countries, then all these other world powers, they will just come there and just try, to do the same thing, and Africa immediately will just relax. Anyways, by the time I woke, or my eyes cleared from that revelation, all the countries of the world were at an impasse, in the sense that there was no clear winner of that contest. Africa had the capacity to win that match, but Africa did not know because Africa's mentality and mindset had been bastardized, that she is inferior and these other countries of the world are better than her. So what the Holy Ghost interpreted that to me is this: that right now, currently, there's a lot of problems going on in these people we look up to as world powers. Look at America. Our system has failed her. America has been literally brought down to our knees. The CDC, Center for Disease Control, has failed the people of America. Every day, death tolls are still rising in America. Unemployment claim has soared like nothing in America. The instability in the system, the partisanship, the lack of unity, the rods in the American system has been tested and brought to the forefront with this coronavirus pandemic. And it's not just in America, but even in Russia and in China and many of these places that we admire in Africa. They have a lot to grapple with at this time. And God says to tell Africa that this is a time to rise up. This is a time to take a place. Thankfully, the pandemic did not ravage Africa as much as it has done this other country. In fact, we give glory to God for that. And guess what? The Holy Spirit says because of that, Africa can quickly use this period, this time frame, where these other countries that we look up to, where they are trying to find their ways out of the murky waters that this pandemic has thrown them, where they are trying to find their ways out of this murky water, Africa can use this to break forth and stand to our feet. And God revealed the number one greatest secret that Africa has to our advantage to make this happen. God says it is through our people. God says Africa has people. God says it is through the collective force of people, through the collaborative force of our people, that Africa can rise up. In other words, it's not time for South Africans to say, hey, we are South Africa, or for Nigerians to say we are the giant of Africa, or for Congolese to say this is what we are doing. God says this is the time for all these nations, all these countries in Africa to come together in a collaborative effort to move Africa forward, to taking our place and to finding our feet again in the world. God says it is time for the diasporans, the brains abroad, to come together, collaborate together. It is time for the religious leaders to come together. It is time for the common man to join forces together. It is time for institutions. It is time for everybody to come together. The people of Africa are our greatest asset, and via the power of collaboration, they can team together and make Africa great again. And then the Holy Ghost explained this to me by telling me that if in a family one person is weak, but then he has brothers and sisters, acquaintances, friends, co-workers who are strong, and they rally around him and they provide him with strength and support, guess what? The weakness of that one person will seem insignificant and inconsequential in the face of whatever he's facing, simply because he has the advantage of strong people rallying around him. And this is the case of Africa. It might be one country right now who is strong. It might be 2 countries, or it might be 10 countries out of the African nations that are strong. They can rally around the weak nations, and then we can pull ourselves out of the dungeon that we found ourselves in. You know, and then another thing God shared with me is that when a man decides that he's no longer going to be in captivity, it doesn't matter how hard his captors try, they can no longer hold him back into captivity. In other words, Africa, if we decide that we are breaking forth, we are finding our light today, guess what? We will. History shows us that there have been great mind-blowing changes that occurred from the people using the power of the people to their advantage. Look at the Cuban Revolution that originated from the Cuban island, that led to the overthrow of the then Batista-led authoritarian government. I mean, when that happened, it led to great socio-economic reforms. Look at the Industrial Revolution that took place. Actually, that has been said to be one of the most pivotal events ever in human civilizations. You know, that revolution brought about the transition from hand production to the mechanized version. And you know what? This brought about great innovation. This brought about improvement in the standards of living of people, and this also created jobs for tons and tons and millions of people. And the last example I would like to cite is the Asian Revolution that took place in Haiti to end the anti-slavery war. As a matter of fact, the success of that revolution led to many of the revolutions that later took place in America in the 28th century to end slavery. What I am saying, and the Spirit of God is saying in a nutshell, is that there is power in the hands of the people, and there is Africa has collaborative power right now of our people to stand to our feet again, to break free from the yoke of oppression, while the rest of the world are trying to figure out what eats them and what did not eat them. And Africa can actually use this opportunity to raise the banner of God again in that continent. Did you find any value in this video? I will kindly crave your indulgence to please share it. Let it get to the ears of those whom this message will make sense in their ears. Maybe the leaders, maybe the religious leaders, maybe politicians, people who will find value in this video. Please kindly share it, and don't forget, subscribe to this channel, and God will help you to market your purpose too. Thank you so very much for being a part of this. I do appreciate you all, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye for now.